5 years ago, I arrived on Proxima Centauri b. I was 35, and it was supposed to be my dream job as a xenobiologist. It felt like stepping into another world. The domes that housed our small research base glowed amber, and the alien plants all around us whispered in the wind. It felt eerie, almost like something was watching me. I didn't understand it back then. I thought it was just my imagination. Each day blended into the next. We were alone, cut off from Earth. People started leaving, their faces pale and wide-eyed. I kept telling myself I was fine. I didn't agree with their fear. But one night, I woke up to a low humming. It echoed through the walls. At first, I thought it was the equipment. I rolled over, but the humming continued. It crept under my skin. Days passed, and the sound never left. I started paying attention to the strange flora. They seemed to move when I approached, swaying slightly, as if inviting me to come closer. It felt like a connection, or maybe a warning. I wanted to collect samples, but something held me back. I was scared. Then I found those glyphs carved into the rocks. They were old and unsettling. I traced my fingers over the lines, feeling chills. Was this evidence of past life? I wasn't sure, but it felt wrong. Shadows grew thicker around us, and I found myself looking over my shoulder. At night, whispers crackled through my comms. I caught bits of words that made no sense. Was it exhaustion playing tricks on me? I began to doubt myself. Was I imagining these whispers? Was I losing my grip on reality? After one long night, I walked back to my dome feeling uneasy. The shadows flickered around me. My heart raced, and I fought the urge to run. Was it all in my head? Then I heard a voice, faint but clear. I froze, scanning the dark. Where was it coming from? The air thickened. Fear washed over me. I knew I wasn't alone. Days later, I confronted my fears. It was late again, and the hum vibrated in my dome. I stepped outside into the darkness, drawn by that persistent sound. The plants seemed to stretch toward me, bending in rhythm with the humming. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were alive. I whispered, "Is anyone there?" My voice felt small against the vast silence. In the distance, I glimpsed movement. A shadow darted between the trees. My breath caught in my throat. I stared into the blackness, waiting for something to reveal itself. My hands shook, and I felt paralyzed. Then I understood. This place was more than a research mission. Proxima Centauri b held secrets I should have never touched. I could almost hear the whispers again, clearer this time. They called my name. And in that instant, I was never really alone. I took a deep breath and stepped closer to the edge of the tree line. The sharp shadows danced in the moonlight, teasing my fears. I wanted to run, but curiosity grabbed hold of me like a vice. What was lurking there? In the stillness, I strained to hear anything beyond the hum. The whispering plants seemed to quiet, almost as if they were holding their breath. I swallowed hard. My mind raced with possibilities. Was it another researcher playing tricks? Or was something here, something real? I took another step forward. The shadow flickered again, darting just out of reach. "Hello?" I called, trying to keep my voice steady. The response was silence, thick and suffocating. Then I saw it again. This time the shape was clearer, tall and slender. It moved fluidly between the trees, almost like a wave. Panic surged through me. I turned on my flashlight, cutting through the darkness. The beam caught movement, but nothing stood still long enough for me to see. I could feel the weight of the air around me, heavy with tension. I turned off the beam, letting the darkness envelop me again. Maybe if I waited, it would reveal itself. Minutes ticked by. Just when I thought I might be alone, the humming returned, low and eerie. It vibrated through my bones. I wanted to reach out, to touch the plants, to feel that connection again. But I was terrified. What if they were calling me to something I couldn't understand? I took one step back, but then the humming turned into a faint voice. "Join us." It was softer than before, but unmistakable. My heart raced. It felt like a warm invitation and a chilling warning all at once. I closed my eyes, trying to focus. The voice came again, more insistent. "Join us." There was a promise in it, a promise of knowledge, of understanding. It was tempting. Suddenly, the ground beneath me shifted. I stumbled, falling back into the underbrush. Just as I scrambled to my feet, the shadows moved again. This time, something was different. The air crackled, and the humming grew louder, almost like laughter. My breath caught as I realized the shadows were merging. They formed a figure, rising before me. I gaped, paralyzed. I had expected something monstrous, but this was more confusing. It resembled a human form, but it flickered like a hologram. Then it held out a hand. "Come closer." I shook my head, backing away. Fear twisted in my stomach. How could I trust this? I knew what I felt, but it was too much. I turned to run, pushing through the underbrush. The humming shifted to something darker, more menacing. "Don't run from what you can't understand." The voice echoed around me, wrapping around my mind like a snake. As I stumbled back toward the safety of the dome, I was left with one haunting thought. They weren't just watching, they were waiting. And now, they knew I was here. When I finally reached the dome, I slammed the door shut behind me, chest heaving. But even as I locked the entrance, I could still feel their presence. A chill settled in the pit of my stomach. That wasn't the end. I closed my eyes and tried to calm my racing heart. And that's when I realized, no matter how far I ran, they wouldn't let me go. I leaned against the cold metal of the dome, heart still racing. The silence inside felt unnatural, almost like a pause before a storm. I took slow, deep breaths, hoping to steady my nerves. Maybe it was all in my head. Maybe I had imagined it. But the tremor in my hands told me otherwise. I forced myself to look around the dimly lit control room. The screens flickered in their usual rhythm, displaying zones I had mapped out. I flipped switches on the console, wanting to distract myself, to convince my mind that everything was normal. Just then, I noticed something odd. One of the screens, a thermal imaging display, showed a heat signature just outside the dome. I squinted at the moonlit landscape beyond the reinforced glass. The trees loomed, but for a moment, I swore I saw a figure standing still, waiting. My stomach dropped. "Please," I whispered to myself, "just a trick of the light." But the signature pulsed like a heartbeat, right on the edge of my perception. Panic seized me again. Had they followed me? Was I not safe anymore? I took a hesitant step back, nearly stumbling over the scattered equipment. My hands fumbled with the console. I had to know what was happening outside. I adjusted the feed to zoom in on the area where the signature glowed. The image sharpened, revealing a vague outline. It looked humanoid, but warped, flickering in and out like a bad transmission. My hand hovered over the intercom button. Should I call out? I resisted the urge, anxiety clawing at my throat. I didn't want to gamble on something that might just be a figment of my imagination. Suddenly, everything went dark. The screens blanked out, the overhead lights dimmed, and an eerie silence enveloped me. I tried to breathe through the panic threatening to overwhelm me. No way, this couldn't be happening now. "Come on," I muttered under my breath, slapping the console. With a flicker, the lights returned, but the atmosphere around me felt different, charged with an unshakable dread. The thermal feed came back, but the signature was gone. I looked closer, confused. That's when I heard it again, a soft, almost melodic humming. It wasn't just in my head. I could feel the vibrations echoing within the walls of the dome, reverberating against the metal. "Join us." The voice slipped through the air, smooth like silk, yet weighted with intention. My heart raced. This wasn't what I signed up for. I thought I was here to study the land, to catalog its features and understand its mysteries, not to become part of them. The humming grew louder, wrapping around my mind. "We see you. We've always seen you." I gripped the edges of the console, suddenly aware of how isolated I was. I needed to get out. I needed to escape this place. But how? They were close, watching, waiting for me to make a mistake. Then I noticed a warning light flashing furiously at the top of the console. It signaled a breach in the airlock. My heart sank. Someone, or something, was tampering with the dome's exterior. The thought sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through me. They weren't just here, they were getting in. I exhaled shakily. Whatever it was, this wasn't over. And now it was only a matter of time before I had to confront whatever waited outside. The warning light continued to flash, a relentless reminder of the danger lurking just outside. I forced myself to focus. Options swirled in my mind, but they felt far away, muffled by dread. Could I seal the airlock? Would it hold against whatever was out there? I moved to the control panel, my heart hammering in my chest. My fingers trembled as I activated the security protocols for the airlock. I punched in the override codes, praying I remembered them correctly. Each beep of the console felt like a countdown, an echo of my increasing desperation. Secure the airlock, I urged myself. Just secure it. As the locks clicked into place, I felt a fleeting sense of relief. But then I remembered the humming, the voice that had seeped through the walls, growing stronger with every moment. I glanced toward the reinforced glass, half expecting to see the distorted figure again. Instead, the landscape appeared unchanged. The trees swayed gently under the silver moonlight, casting long shadows that danced ominously. There was no sign of the heat signature, but that didn't mean I was safe. I scanned the control room. If I couldn't get a visual from the thermal feed, maybe I could gather more information another way. I flipped through various displays, searching for readings or logs that might give me a hint about what was happening outside. Nothing felt right. The data continued to show normal operating levels, but I could feel in my gut that this place was anything but normal now. Then a loud thud reverberated through the dome, shaking the very foundation. I froze. My breath hitched in my throat, and I leaned closer to the window, heart racing. Nothing could be that big out there, could it? "Stay calm," I whispered, though my voice quivered. "It's just the wind." But the following thud was closer, a heavy impact that sent a shudder through my core. I turned back to the console. I needed to access the outside cameras, ensure there was no threat approaching. The controls were still responsive. I adjusted the settings, desperate to get a better view. The monitors crackled to life, showing the exterior of the dome. All I saw were the trees, their branches moving. I shifted the angles, but the images remained too still. Another thud, louder this time, rattled the infrastructure. My fingers jumped to the intercom. "Is anyone there?" I asked, voice trembling. Silence hung thick. Just as I was about to lose hope, a twisted figure emerged on the screen, lurking between the trees. At first, it was just a shadow, but as the monitor stabilized, the details sharpened. I recognized those elongated limbs, the almost human shape. Maybe it was real after all. The thing turned its head, a contorted grin breaking across its face. "We are coming for you," it hissed, the words distorting and echoing. I stumbled back, crashing into the console. Panic gripped me. They knew I was here. They were toying with me. A siren blared, the airlock. The lights flickered again, plunging the room into half-darkness. I had activated the emergency lockdown. I would have to leave, now. But escape meant facing whatever awaited me. I didn't have time to think it through. I had only one choice: open the emergency exit. As the mechanized bolts released with a deafening clang, I took a deep breath, the cool air filling my lungs. "Here we go," I muttered, adrenaline surging. My heart raced. I stepped toward the exit, every nerve in my body screaming in warning. That's when I heard the humming again, now louder and more insistent. "Come to us," it beckoned. I hesitated, but deep down I felt it was already too late. I could either run from them or confront whatever this was. The exit door loomed ahead, tempting me with a path to the unknown. I clenched my fists and prepared to step into the darkness. The moment I stepped through the exit, the cool air rushed past me, an unsettling contrast to the stifling atmosphere inside the dome. I was outside, but the chill did nothing to calm my racing heart. Shadows stretched across the clearing, and the trees loomed like silent sentinels, their branches whispering in the night. I glanced back at the glowing remnants of the control room, the warning lights mocking me. Stepping further into the darkness felt like crossing an invisible line. The buzz of the night was alive, but I couldn't tell if it was the regular hum of the outside world or something else. Instinctively, I pressed my back against the dome, a fragile barrier between me and whatever was out here. The humming intensified around me, saturating the air. It wasn't just in my head. "Come to us," it sang, seductive and chilling. I had to find out what it was, if it was my only chance to survive. I forced myself to move, glancing around for something, anything, that might reveal more about the danger lurking in the shadows. Every step felt heavy and deliberate. My pulse thundered in my ears as I strained to listen. Then I saw it, a flash of movement just beyond the tree line, a glimpse of the figure that had grinned at me through the monitor. Panic clawed at me. It wasn't just a trick of the light. I took a trembling breath, squinting into the darkness, but the figure vanished as quickly as it had appeared. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, to lock myself inside again. But I pushed forward, drawn to the uncertain sound. Then I heard something that made my blood run cold. A low growl, primal and guttural, echoing from the depths of the foliage. It was the kind of sound that sent every warning bell in my mind blaring. I wanted to retreat, to hurry back to the safety of the dome, but my legs felt glued to the ground. "Come play with us," the whisper intensified, wrapping around me like a chilling breeze. The trees seemed to shift, their branches twisting as if animated. I was being beckoned deeper into the unknown, and I fought with myself. My legs moved against my will. I stumbled forward, a tangle of fear and determination. As I approached the tree line, the ground beneath me squelched, wet and unnatural. I dropped down to take a closer look, and my heart stopped. There were tracks, large, unmistakable imprints in the mud, as if something tremendous had lurked here not long ago. Then everything went dark. The lights on my helmet had flickered and faded, as if someone had pulled a switch. I was engulfed in night, the oppressive silence consuming me. The sound of rustling leaves grew louder, and I could feel the presence of something nearby, lurking, watching. "This can't be happening," I muttered to myself. Panic surged again, and I fumbled to activate my suit's emergency light. When the beam finally flickered to life, it painted the trees in stark relief, but it didn't illuminate what was behind them. A low, eerie laughter filled the air, echoing mockingly through the woods. I was not alone. I turned on my heel to flee, but before I could move, a rush of air whipped past me. My heart raced as I stumbled back into the clearing, desperately searching for a route back to the dome. But the shadows seemed to stretch around me, ready to ensnare me in their grasp. I had come out to confront the darkness, but now it felt as if the darkness was ready to confront me. My breath quickened, each inhale a sharp stab against the cold. I spun around, scanning for any sign of movement. The shadows danced, elusive and tantalizing, but nothing appeared. I felt more vulnerable than ever. What was out there? The laughter echoed again, a phantom sound that made my skin crawl. "Stop it!" I shouted into the darkness. My voice felt thin, almost swallowed. But the laughter just grew louder, mocking my fear. I forced myself to focus. I couldn't let whatever this was control me. I grasped my helmet light tighter, flicking through the settings as a distraction from the chaos around me. As I turned, a branch snapped behind me, a sharp, unmistakable sound. My heart stopped. I directed the beam toward the noise, praying for clarity, praying for answers. But instead of clarity, I found the unsettling sight of the tracks I had discovered earlier. They were deeper now, still fresh and oozing in the mud, as if something massive had just passed through moments before. I felt a nudge of dread course through me. Whatever had left those tracks could be close. Instinctively, I took a step back, but my foot slipped on the slick earth, and I stumbled hard, hitting the ground with a thud. The impact knocked the wind out of me. For a moment, all I could do was gasp. But then, something changed. The growling I had heard before returned, louder and unmistakably closer. It vibrated the ground beneath me, rattled my bones. This was no animal I had encountered before. I scrambled to my feet, adrenaline pumping through me like fire. The urge to flee surged stronger than ever. I caught a glimpse of movement, a blur in the dim light. My mind raced with questions. What was it? Who was it? All I could focus on was escaping, getting back to the dome. I turned and sprinted toward the clearing, but just as I reached the edge, a shadow sprang from the trees. It was fast. It was enormous. I barely had time to react before it lunged at me. I dove to the side, rolling to evade its grasp. I hit the ground hard, but managed to regain my footing. I sprinted as the creature's growl echoed behind me. I could feel its breath on my back, warm and rancid, urging me to move faster. I was almost at the dome when I noticed something on the ground, a glimmering object half buried in the mud. I skidded to a halt, a scream clawing at my throat as I recognized it. It was a fragment of the monitor from the control room, cracked and splattered with dirt. Confusion spiraled in my mind. Why was it here? Before I could process it, the presence was upon me, so close I could feel the heat radiating off its massive form. I didn't dare turn around. My heartbeat roared in my ears, drowning out the growl now inches from me. That's when I felt a sharp, cold pressure against my shoulder. The encounter was imminent, and I could feel the darkness closing in. The instant I felt that icy pressure, instinct took over. I twisted away, throwing myself forward in a desperate bid to escape. The coldness vanished, replaced by the rush of air as I hit the ground and started rolling. Mud splattered everywhere, but I didn't care. I just had to move. I scrambled to my feet again, breathless and wild with fear. My helmet light flickered as I scanned the trees, searching for that shadow, that looming presence. I could barely process what had just. My mind was a jumble of panic and confusion, and I fought to stay focused. Suddenly, I spotted it, a massive silhouette in the trees, muscles rippling as it lurked just out of sight. My legs felt like lead. I had to run, but every muscle in my body screamed in protest. Instead, I backed away slowly, careful not to make a sound. Just then, a loud crash erupted from the direction of the dome. My heart raced. Had something else broken in there, or was it an entirely different threat? The growl came again, rumbling and fierce, as if the creature was losing patience with my hesitation. What did it want with me? My pulse hammered in my ears as I thought about the broken monitor fragment I'd seen. The control room was supposed to be safe, but now, knowing that a piece of our old life was out here, in the mud, sent chills down my spine. Had the creature been inside the dome? I had to get inside again. I was still piecing together what had happened, but I couldn't linger here. I had to warn the others, if anyone was still alive. I made a break for it, every nerve in my body screaming to get away from that thing. I bounded excitedly toward the path leading back to the dome, cutting through the darkness. The branches reached out like claws, and I felt their sharp edges scrape against my skin. I didn't stop. Then a series of loud thuds echoed behind me. It was pursuing me, no longer hiding, but full-on charging. I didn't dare look back to assess how close it was. Just the thought of those massive jaws snapping behind me fueled a deeper fear, propelling me forward. But then, in my frantic retreat, my foot caught on a root. I went down hard, my hands scraping against the rough ground. I couldn't afford to take a moment to recover. Adrenaline ignited my muscles as I rolled to my knees, pushing myself to stand. But I wasn't fast enough. The creature was upon me, growling louder than ever. I turned just in time to see a flash of yellow eyes staring right at me. That was all I got before everything went dark. I jolted awake, gasping for breath. Darkness pressed in tight around me, but panic coursed through my veins. Where was I? I tried to move, but felt the weight of something heavy pinning me down. My mind raced, heart pounding like a drum. I blinked, straining to adjust to the dim glow coming from my helmet light. I was on the ground, but somehow deeper in the woods than I remembered. The air smelled of damp earth and something sharper, unnatural. My instincts flared up, sending me into a sitting position. I had to get out of here. The growling was gone, but the silence felt charged with tension. Every little sound heightened my alertness. The rustle of leaves, the distant call of an unknown animal, even my own heavy breathing. I had to gather myself and figure out where to go. I couldn't let that thing find me again. Pushing myself up, I stumbled, my knees shaking. My hands gripped the nearest tree for support as I took stock of my surroundings. The growl had stopped, replaced by a deeper, unsettling quiet. The dread twisted in my gut. Wherever that creature had gone, it wasn't far. I focused on retracing my steps, remembering the direction from which I came. That sense of urgency, that primal fear, kicked in again. I couldn't lose myself in the woods, not now. Adrenaline washed over me, one thought shooting to the forefront of my mind. I needed to reach the dome. As I moved through the underbrush, I thought about the control room. Images of the broken monitor flashed in my mind. What had happened inside? Was that thing responsible? I had no answers, just more questions, and the gnawing need to warn whoever might still be alive. Suddenly, the ground shifted beneath me, and I stumbled over something. Debris, maybe? I turned my helmet light down, illuminating a twisted piece of metal. My heart sank as I recognized it, a fragment of the control room's exterior.
Why would it be all the way out here? Then I heard it. The low growl returned, rumbling through the trees like thunder. My blood ran cold. I scanned the area, dread coiling tighter in my chest. There was no mistaking it this time. It was closer, the sound echoing around me, vibrating through the soil underfoot. It was hunting. I picked up the pace, weaving between trees and brambles. My breath was ragged, but I pushed on, focusing on reaching safety. I had to keep moving, had to find the others. The growl deepened, a warning, reminding me of the danger lurking in the shadows. Just as I spotted an opening ahead, a surge of fur and muscle raced past me. I felt the wind from its movement brush against my face. My heart dropped into my stomach. It was right beside me, too close. I sprinted forward, lunging toward the dome's entrance. In that moment, I realized my search for safety had just turned into a fight for my life. Would I make it in time? And who, or what, was waiting for me inside? The entrance to the dome loomed ahead, but panic tightened its claws around my chest. I could hear the growl closer now, mixed with the sound of my own frantic footsteps. I burst through the door, slamming it shut behind me. The hiss of the locking mechanism felt like a breath of relief, but I knew it was temporary. The interior felt alien, the blinking lights of the control panel casting an eerie glow over everything. I hurried to scan the room, searching for anyone else, but it was empty. The silence within felt heavier than the weight outside. My heart sank. Could I be
The only one left? I forced myself to think. The screen near the central console was cracked, velvety black, cascading over broken circuits. If I was going to get more information, I needed to find a working terminal. I took a step toward the hallway when I heard a noise, a scraping, like claws against metal. "Hello!" I called out, my voice bouncing back to me. The darkness swallowed my words. No answer. I needed to act fast. I moved toward the nearest office, arms shaking from the adrenaline that coursed through my veins. I pushed the door open slowly, praying it wouldn't creak. Once inside, I flicked on the light. The glow illuminated bits of paper strewn across the floor, reports, notes, research. Something glimmered in the corner. The terminal. Rushing over, I jostled the mouse, hoping for a flicker of life. The screen came alive, showing a loading symbol. Then, everything scrambled into garbled text. Frustration gnawed at me. I couldn't waste time. Suddenly, a deep growl erupted just outside the door. My heart raced again. They had followed me inside. I turned and pressed my back against the wall, holding my breath. I could hear its heavy breathing, just on the other side. Adrenaline surged through me. I had to keep it together. The growling persisted, and I thought about the notes in fragments scattered around. If there were creatures out there, what had they done to us? Had the research been of any use? I recalled the failed experiments, the whispers of something lurking beneath the planet's surface. Then I remembered something else, the emergency exit plan. My mind raced. If I could access the last logs, maybe I could find a way to get out and locate the others. The sound of claws against metal drew closer. I had no time to hesitate. I reached for the terminal again, my fingers trembling as I navigated through the mangled interface. That's when I saw it on the screen. A log entry. Specimen escaped containment. My breath caught in my throat. What did that mean? What had escaped? Before I could digest the information, the door flew open. I barely had time to react as the creature lunged inside, eyes glinting in the harsh light. I froze, heart pounding, staring into the abyss of its gaze. And then, everything went dark. I awoke again, this time to an unsettling stillness. The dim light flickered, and I could feel the chill of metal beneath me, solid but cold. My body was heavy, stiff with both fear and exhaustion. I squinted against the pulsating glow of emergency lights that surrounded me, trying to get my bearings. The last thing I remembered,
was that creature, its eyes piercing through the chaos. Now, though, I was alone in the control room. Had I passed out, or had they taken me somewhere else? Slowly forcing myself to sit up, I realized I was still in the dome. Panic clawed at my throat as the memories came
Flooding back. This place was supposed to be safe, but now it felt like a trap. I pushed to my feet, surveying the room. The scattered papers were in disarray, and the terminal screen was a chaotic blend of pulsing error messages. There was a soft hiss from the airlock, and I almost jumped out of my skin. I turned, heart racing, ready to flee. Had they breached the dome? But the lights continued to flicker, and the door remained sealed. I took a small step toward the console, reminding myself I had to stay calm. I needed to find a way out, a way to warn anyone who might still be alive. I refocused on the terminal, hoping to piece together what had happened. Moments felt like hours as I scrolled through corrupted files. Embedded images flashed across the screen, biological samples, reports on energy surges, and finally, logs of team members abandoning their posts. The latest entry caught my eye. Unexplained phenomena in the flora and fauna, sudden surge in territorial behavior, increased psychic disturbances among team members. A chill ran down my spine. Psychic disturbances? What did that even mean? The plant life? My mind reeled, searching through everything I had experienced since I arrived. The whispers, the hums, the beckoning shadows. They couldn't just be remnants of the mind collapsing under pressure, could they? Just then, a loud crash echoed from the hallway, followed by a low growl, a familiar sound that sent me rushing once more back to the door. I pressed against the cool wall, breathless. The growl deepened, resonating through the dense silence, and I heard it again. Something massive was outside. "Stay away," I whispered hoarsely, wishing my voice carried enough weight to keep the darkness at bay. It didn't. In a burst of desperation, I gathered my thoughts. If the logs hinted at some kind of crushing force, then whatever I faced wasn't just a creature. I was cornered by something far more complex. Whatever it was, it thrived on fear, and now it was playing with me, no more clever than a cat with its prey. The airlock began to tremble as if under siege. I felt the vibration travel through the walls beneath my palms, urging me to action. The emergency exit was still an option, but I needed to stop whatever was trying to get in first. Using a nearby monitor, I quickly activated the security cameras. As I cycled through the feeds, relief washed over me. It wasn't inside the dome yet. The exit remained closed. But I could see it lurking just outside, its shape barely visible in the gloom, like a monstrous silhouette against the backdrop of trees. I felt a mixture of horror and empathy. The growl was maddening, a primal urgency erupting from the depths of nature itself. Each second that passed felt like time was slithering away, dragging my sanity down with it. I wasn't escaping. I was the one they were waiting for. Suddenly, the lights above flickered violently. My heart raced as I realized the power was waning. I had a decision to make: stay and defend against whatever might come through, or make a break for it. I rushed to the emergency protocols, glancing one last time at the growling thing in the feed that had become a dark marionette of fear. Had it followed me? Knew it was hunting? Fueled with shaky determination, I scrambled through the last of the navigational logs, plotting a potential escape route through the maintenance tunnels if I could get the air supply working. A sudden groan echoed from the structure. Was it stabilizing or about to give way? The warnings blared in quick succession. Pressure dropping, evacuation advised. Everything felt like it was closing in, like the walls of the dome were breathing down on me. Fumbling through the operational panel, I just barely managed to activate the emergency exit just as the growling outside intensified. With a final glance at the bolted airlock, I plunged through the maintenance corridor, the hum of the air filling my ears. Shadows elongated as I sprinted through the narrow space, cutting back toward the path I hoped would lead me to freedom, uncertainty cascading through me like a wave. And yet, somewhere, within the pulsating chaos of my thoughts, Questions lingered. Would I ever truly escape the whispers? Would this world swallow me whole, capturing my very essence? As I burst through an alternative exit into the open air, I realized something. Even if I found my way back, I'd forever remain haunted by the revelation of what lay beyond the shadows. Shadows that weren't just waiting, they were watching, and they would continue to echo in my mind long after I left this place. I moved as fast as I could through the trees, my heart still pounding in my chest. Whatever I had encountered here, it wasn't over yet. The question of whether I had truly escaped would linger in my mind, wrapped up in the uncertainty of whether I ran from something even more sinister than I'd ever realized. I would ultimately find my way off Proxima Centauri b. But somewhere, buried deep in the recesses of my memory, the shadows would always remain, their whispers lingering, waiting for me to return.